Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Welcome to another episode of Newsround for Anfield Index. It is Monday, the 15th of December, and Liverpool are now in a period where it's just the one game a week, pretty much all the way through until New Year's Day, which is a bit quieter than normal. But off the field, it definitely isn't quiet. There's still a lot of speculation. You've got the January window opening in about 2 weeks or so, haven't you? There is plenty going on. And hopefully, we're maybe seeing someone or some people through the door, but keeping someone else in it at the same time. There is a lot going on at the moment. I'm your host, Dave Davis, coming to you from some Christmassy feel in Edinburgh. It's got that sort of cold mist, but people are walking around in a few Christmas outfits. There must be something going on, I'm sure. Fingers crossed it is nice in the world wherever you are. But we start news round with that age-old question, don't we? How are we? And at the moment, we're not great, but we're better than we've been recently because you've been almost peeking through it through your fingers a little bit. But it's not glamorous. The table isn't an utter disaster at the moment, though. Liverpool now sit in sixth place with 26 points. 10 off the summit, 2 off the Champions League places. And when you look at that, they've got Spurs coming up next week, who also seem a bit of a dumpster fire at the club. Their manager's in under the cosh, maybe even more than ours. It's hard to believe at the moment. It's a pivotal period, isn't it? And we're talking now of back-to-back wins. And Christ, I can't even remember when we were talking about back-to-back wins. How long ago does that seem? That's tragic in a way, isn't it, really? But it is. A victory in the San Siro is followed by victory at Anfield over Brighton. A hell of a game. Chances at both ends. Maybe a little bit lucky, it's fair to say as well. Earned it. I still think we were the better team and shaded it on points. I genuinely do. But let's just listen to what Arne Slot said post-match about this one.
I think our players worked incredibly hard today to keep a clean sheet. And for the first time in weeks, maybe I should say months, we had a little bit of luck with that as well. Also a little bit of luck. I think we did a lot of things well, but we also had a little bit of luck. We've had games where we not conceded a chance, but conceded 3 goals. But today we definitely did concede chances, but they didn't go in. Mo is going to go to the AFCON now. Hope he's going to do very well.
Yeah, we did concede big chances. In fact, it was 3 big chances apiece on Diego Gomez for Brighton. He was at it all, wasn't he? The one-on-one with Alisson, that miss at the back post, a kung fu kick into the chest of Florian Wirtz as well. So it could have gone differently, but there was a lot to like as well, you know, in terms of certain players, which we'll be talking about, in terms of attacking intent. I think that's the one thing we were quite positive about, wasn't it? That recently we've been playing the most boring zero-sum football, as in don't concede a chance and we might maybe create if you're lucky. This one, he knew he had to open up more. You won't get away with another Sunderland performance at Anfield. And yeah, that also means when we start to open up, when we be more creative, you might sometimes get caught. But there are a lot of good individual performances. There's a lot to tighten up on at the same time. But back-to-back victories. We'll take little moments of joy when we get them. And there's a few we're asking in the chat panel about the games and what we're talking about for one a week. It is only one a week. If you look, it's Spurs, it's the 5:30 away on Saturday. Then it's Wolves at Anfield just after Christmas. And then New Year is Leeds at Anfield. So we're literally going into a key period now, aren't we? With the table being so close. And a few have flagged this, and I think it is absolutely spot on. The top of the table is so congested. Liverpool are not in a title race. We all know that. And, you know, you can say maybe there's 3 teams. I'm not really convinced. I think it's going to come down to 2. But look how bunched up it gets. I mean, there's literally 6 points between 4th to 12th. 28 Chelsea, Newcastle, 22. That's how congested. And in fact, this league this year The standard has dropped. I don't care what anyone says, even compared to last season. The teams now are a million miles away from the Klopp and Guardiola Liverpool City teams that, are wrecking up the 90s regularly. A million miles. I mean, for God's sake, people are eulogising about this Arsenal team. They're not even tracking 2 points a game. That is how far the league has fallen, realistically. But we can only do what we can do and focus on us a little bit. And in terms of focusing on us, we do need a little bit of luck injury-wise, because as much as we went back-to-back, people, it came at a cost, didn't it? Did anyone clock this one? Spoke afterwards. Joe Gomez went off after about half an hour with a hamstring injury to be replaced by Mo Salah. But as Arne Slot said afterwards, if I've got a player who goes off with a muscle injury like Joe, that's normally not a positive thing. I wouldn't expect him to be in the Spurs squad, but sometimes you get a positive surprise, and I don't think we're going to get that. Also, Szoboszlai and Dom, it was his ankle. It didn't look great when I just saw him, but he has unbelievable mentality. Again, one way you're hoping that the week break may actually suit, because he's one of the first names on the tee sheet, if not the key one at the moment, Dominic Szoboszlai. And then the positive news, Conor Bradley's back from suspension, and normally Jeremy Frimpong will train with us also. So that is a positive coming into the week, because Mo Salah, as we know, is set to depart for AFCON. So to get at least a body back in Frimpong and his pace, someone who could help down the right, Conor Bradley back as well, because we didn't have any right backs pretty much by the time half an hour into this game. And Joe Gomez has got an argument to have been the best one this season. 2 assists, by the way. 2 assists in his last 4 games. Coincided with Liverpool keeping clean sheets at the same time, or looking more defensively solid, even though there wasn't much attacking threat. I appreciate. So, yeah. Let's just hope we get a bit more good injury news all round, but we'll have to see what develops this week. A couple of milestones it's important to acknowledge, and a couple of milestones with big players as well. Anyone clock this? 250 appearances for Virgil van Dijk, who has lifted the big prize. He's done it all in red, hasn't he? What a player. What an icon in history he's going to go down as. And hopefully, he's going to clock up many more. And at the same time, but he may be a bit less hopeful of, important to remember, look at that. Mo Salah, the most goal and assists for a single club in Premier League history, goes ahead of Wayne Rooney, goes ahead of Ryan Giggs, top on 277. And we all know how many more appearances Giggs and Rooney made at the same time. Yeah. Whenever we're talking about the icon that is Mo Salah and everything that's going on, let's just make sure we keep that in our minds, people? Absolutely crucial. This player, Curtis Jones, with the milestone as well. 200 appearances in the win over Brighton. He talked honestly, and there was a great interview. And annoyingly, I can't play it because we got copyrighted for it yesterday, even though I'd happily give Liverpool FC and Pete McDowell all the credit for a brilliant interview. He talked about it, didn't he? His quadruple turn, how he likes to take responsibility, early goals, various things. It's well worth the read. As he said, I'm just one of those who loves to play. I just enjoy having the ball at my feet. And right now, Curtis Jones being on the pitch and having the ball at his feet feels crucial for Liverpool. He was so key to progression, wasn't he, on Saturday? An absolutely brilliant performance. In a way, I knew Hugo Ekitike was always going to take man of the match when you get a double at Anfield and a 2-0 victory. Of course he is. But for me, Curtis Jones, absolutely pivotal to this one. Pivotal in the San Siro as well last week. He is becoming, again, one of the names on the team sheet. What's annoying for Curtis Jones as well is, I'm seeing a lot of people saying at the moment, which is nonsense, by the way, nah, it's because we've dropped our levels. He looks great. Not at all. There's 2 players who've gone up a level this season. That's Dominic Szoboszlai and Curtis Jones. Gone up a level. Don't debate that at all. It's not their fault that some of their teammates have been absolutely gashed this season and terrible. So give them the credit for that. And Johnny Brent there saying, any news on Gomez? We say we had that. The injury reports were waiting. I don't think there's any expectation he's in the squad for the Spurs game on Saturday, but we'll have to see what news we get. We need news on a few. We need positive news on a few, don't we, as well? And I mentioned Hugo Ekitike because he was the official man of the match. How good was he on Saturday? He just looks just a special player, I think, at the moment, isn't he? So young and looks every bit, and in potential, the ceiling is just insane. But look at this for a start as well. And shout out to Michael Reed, who we've had on the show before. Hugo Ekitike is the first player not named Mo Salah to be the first Liverpool player to reach 10 goals in a season in all competitions since Sadio Mane in 1920. He's the first centre-forward to be the first to 10 for the club since Daniel Sturridge in 2013-14. I mean, those were incredible seasons for different reasons as well, weren't they, at the same time? So you've got to look and say, in a backdrop of a team struggling, him being out a lot, and sometimes you're just like, why is he being dropped for Isak? Who there are question marks against as well. We'll see. Yeah, I think we've got a real special player on our hands in Hugo Ekitike. I really do. It's interesting, though. Again, I'm seeing it in the chat panel. People being, I still think harsh on Curtis Jones. Mr. 365 boy saying he has 4 or 5 great games on the bounce, then drops off for some reason. I think this has been a sustained period for Curtis Jones. Of course, we want to see him keep going. And Mr. Will 994, they're saying, need to hope his form doesn't get ruined by injury, as it's been the past couple of seasons when he's had a good streak of games. I think that's fair. Curtis does have a patchy injury record. You can't debate that. You can't ignore that at all. What's also a little bit of a worry as well, I mean, for a few, this midfield, this diamond style that we're playing at the moment, it does require them to run themselves into the ground. And we mentioned in a few shows, that is a real worry. The distances you see that they're clocking up, how much you're expecting them or asking them to do. So a game a week might just be one of the best things at the moment. And yet, it's still not really the biggest story, any of this. Of course, the whole buzz is around the Mo Salah situation. You'll have seen it, the lap at the end, the cheers before, during, and after. A little bit of uncertainty around what's going to happen with Mo Salah right now. And everyone's chimed in, haven't they? Curtis talked about this as well, saying, he's spoken to us in the dressing room and it's a case of, it's not an issue. It's just a private issue. And, for him, and it's not right for him to speak about his business. And Virgil also talked about it over the weekend. Looks like they got him in the mix zone, as he said. Mo reacted in the end perfectly fine as well. He was good today. He was good Sunday and Monday when we trained. He didn't travel to Milan and we trained yesterday together and he was perfectly fine too. It's all about how the team reacts. And in my eyes and what I see and how I speak to the guys, I think everyone handled it perfectly well. And he also said this as well, didn't he? Of course, I've told him I want him to stay. The rest is, I'm not going to tell you. I would love to have him around because he's one of the leaders. But the matter of fact is that he is going to AFCON. So yeah, AFCON and the nations in that can now pull all those players in. So Liverpool have not got a choice around that at all. It's interesting though, isn't it? As much as we know there's going to be meetings between Rami, Mo's representative, Richard Hughes, and maybe other powers that be, we'll have to see what the outcome is on those. And if we don't get it straight away, of course, we'll be able to see in time. They're going to have meetings, but the players have been clear on their thoughts, haven't they? The players have been clear on he had a right to speak, whether you agree with it or not, that they're having private words with him. And they've all told him, whatever you think about the rest, they want him to stay. And this is important to say because ambient noises there saying Slot dealt with Salah impeccably, in my opinion. It's been a tough situation for Arne Slot. And people agreeing that he's been impressive there as well. I do think he's handled the situation as well as he possibly can. I've got to give Arne Slot that. I think it's important to say because we all also know that the fact that Rami is going to speak to Richard Hughes, has been said by Lewis Steele, Paul Joyce. We all know that, and this is not being derogatory to Arne Slot, the conversations are happening above his head, understandably. But it's important to say, for the noise, the way he's conducted himself, the pressure in the press conferences, which is right to ask the questions, I think he's come across well. And he's getting a few results. Do I think it means his situation or his position at Anfield is fully entrenched? God, no. There's still question marks there. We can't just ignore this season. But I think he's done well in this, and it's right to acknowledge that. Still more to see what happens. Now, there's naturally going to be some questions. There always is on Newsround about what are the links going on, the latest names. Of course, we've got 2 fit centre-halves. 2. Virgil and Ibu. Leone out for the season. We know that. Joe Gomez. And he's been brilliant. But we just, I don't think you can expect anything too much of Joe Gomez. I think if he plays, you'd be delighted. You just get the feeling there's got to be a centre-half coming through the door on the 1st of January. And yet, being honest, that's not the biggest headline. Now, Indy Callier has gone hard on this throughout the winter, hasn't he? And saying Liverpool have officially opened talks with Bournemouth to explore a suitable payment structure for Antoine Semenyo. During internal discussions, Mo Salah has also been made aware the club is planning to sign a winger who can play on both sides. I mean, there's 2 major implications there, isn't there, really? I mean, go do it in reverse. How well is Mo Salah going to react? I think, and this is interesting about the Salah situation, people keep saying that Mo Salah will ultimately decide his future. And ultimately, of course, that is true. But Mo Salah is not going to want to stick around at Liverpool if he's not getting the sense or the indication that he's going to be starting week in, week out. That's part of the reason he signed the 2-year deal. There's no point in pretending anything else. So that will come into the mix. And it'd be interesting to react if Antoine Semenyo does walk through the door at the AXA. What does that say? And I don't like going, it's Salah out, Semenyo in. I think that's unfair. I think Liverpool have already looked to the long term in signing Mo Salah's replacements with Florian Wirtz, Alexander Isak and Hugo Ekitike and go in a slightly different way. But, yeah. And important to say, because we've talked about Antoine Semenyo many times, that I've seen a few mixed reviews on how he's doing. And we'll get, if you want, not that I watch their games, but I probably will tune into this. It's Bournemouth, 8 p.m. tonight, isn't it, at Old Trafford? So you get to see a bit of an audition. And when you look again at Antoine Semenyo's stats, there's a lot to like, especially what a team player. For attacking midfielders, Winders, 99th percentile for blocks, aerials 97th, tackles 183rd percentile. Yeah, you know his raw attributes, the pace, the power, all those. Yeah, a lot to like about this player. It's funny as well when people talk about things he's not good at. I mean, I think he's hitting what you'd say is maybe the bare minimum for me personally. I mean, non-penalty XG is low, probably below the bare minimum at 0.26, 64th percentile. We'd like that higher. Of course, shots, you probably want about 3 a game on average, as Bart's has mentioned before. But it's important to say there must be something in the data that obviously our analysts and our laptop team have got, and Laptop Eddie will be looking at. They seem hard in on Semenyo. In fact, I think there'd be a little bit of a surprise if Liverpool weren't in the mix for Antoine Semenyo now in January. But at the same time, you're thinking, well, is he going to solve our defensive issues? He can't play centre. He could play centre-back, I suppose, with those attributes. But is that really what we need? I don't know. I really don't know. We'll be able to make the call, will it? And a few are asking at the same time about centre-backs, right-backs, and one glance at the headlines. Look at that top as well is mentioned there, but Liverpool Semenyo move for Bournemouth. Canate still a target for 2 European clubs, with PSG mentioned again there. Camavinga, who it's right to talk about as well. And Liverpool, this is the big one though, isn't it? Liverpool looking at a potential double centre-back deal in January. I mean, it's feasible right now. Liverpool, if you did make any signings, how many fit centre-backs are you going to have for next season? Possibly one, Van Dijk, because I don't think Leone will be fit for the start of next season. Joe Gomez, I think he'll be away realistically as well. Or even if he stays, will he be fit? So you've got maybe one in Virgil, an aging Virgil. Liverpool are going to need to do big centre-back business over these windows. We have 2 fit centre-backs at the moment. It's so fortunate we're on 1 game a week, because even your cover of people were talking like Endo, Gravenberch dropping back. You don't want to see that, but Endo's injured as well. A centre-back needs to come through the door desperately in January. And when it talked about that potential centre-back deal, I think this name just won't go away. And I think a lot of us would like to see this as well. Jeremy Jacquet makes all the sense in the world, doesn't he? In terms of just over 20, a huge potential, huge ceiling. You see the way he plays for Rennes, the space he covers, and the attributes as well. I mean, an aerial duel success at 20 years old of over 70% is brilliant. It's about, the aerial beasts we've had for so many a year, like Van Dijk, Matip, Konate. So that. But also in terms of, say, his metrics, 96 percentile for interceptions, 82nd for tackles. We talked about his aerial duels as well. And if you watch Rennes at the same time, the ground he covers, that he's asked to cover and the style they play, not the greatest on the ball, but neither is Konate at the same time as well. I just think this makes all the sense in the world of in World Cup year, a centre-half who would be willing to move at this time would be available. And it's no surprise at the same time that Real Madrid have been linked with Jeremy Jacquet on a regular basis now as well. You'll see them mentioned with Upamecano, but also him as well. Honestly, it's one I think we'd all be ecstatic if Liverpool got done in the January window, because let's be honest, there needs to be at least one coming through the door. We'll see if it's Jacquet, we'll see if it's another, but by Christ, give us one at least. And here's a player that again, we kind of referenced it loosely on the transfer show, but Liverpool have had a long-standing interest in Camavinga, haven't they, at Real Madrid, ever since he moved from Liga and there. Some talent as well. Look at that, 88 million. And it's important to say with Camavinga, he's not been in Alonso's team on a regular basis as well. And there's so much to like, which is worth talking about. But there's also a big exclamation point at the same time. So you're right. People are saying he's not started always for Real Madrid, but he's got good minutes. And look at that FB ref profile against other midfielders. 90th percentile for tackles, 95th for blocks, pass completion, 92nd percentile, and successful take-ons. He is, if you watch him, pretty, press resistant at the same time. But he makes tackles, he does things. He's left-footed. You've seen Camavinga. We've all watched him. He's a class player. It's just important to say he doesn't seem flavour of the month or top pick under Xavi Alonso. And maybe Liverpool can use that to their advantage. Same agency as Ibu Konate. Liverpool are still trying to get that one done. Are you hopeful? Another question there. Here's the pointed exclamation mark, though, with Camavinga. For all that talent that we talked about, look at that for an injury record. I mean, look at that just last season alone. 37 games he missed with a mix of muscle, hamstring, knee injuries. And even this season, look at that, 25, 26 people. 10 games that he's missed. He misses that injury record. I think that might just be the red flag that takes him out the mix. If the thing is, if he didn't have that and Alonso just wasn't playing him, I think he'd be many of our top. We'd adore Camavinga. But I think that, and people will be looking at maybe Premier League proven. That is a guess. I do not know that. But I think Liverpool will be casting their eyes more to your Whartons, your Elliot Andersons, your Carlos Baleba, if you want more of a destroyer type. I think that's why you're seeing more of those names. Is Camavinga a top player? Yes, there's zero doubt about that. Is the injury record and that fee, because he's got a contract till 2029 as well, so you're not getting a discount. I think that might just knock it out of Liverpool's range or view. We'll see anyway, won't we? It's definitely not one for January, which is what we're concerned about at the moment. We talk transfers. There needs to be at least one defender coming through the door. We are, we're threadbare in that department. We need to see that. So we're hoping and praying for that. But in the immediate future, listen, back-to-back wins we will take at this moment in time. It's not great viewing to look at yourselves in 6, is it? It's well away from what we expected from this season, but it may just be that an indication that Arne Slot has started to steady the ship a little bit. And I know we gave up chances. I know there's still a lot to work on, but Liverpool created. Liverpool tipped the scales a little bit from being a boring as crap team to actually playing some football on Saturday. It's now all about what injury news do we get? What January news do we get ahead of a massive Saturday evening game? And I don't think you can undersell that, because the way Spurs are going at the moment, I think it's right. And you think back to last season, the 6-3, it's right to be going there and expecting 3 points. Maybe more hope than expectation with everything that's happened, but how many false dawns can Arne Slot afford at the same time, who, again, does deserve a bit of praise for how he's handled everything in recent weeks? We'll see. Bit weird we've not got 2 games a week, but it's all full steam ahead to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Saturday. Injuries, we need positive news on. Defenders and transfers, we need positive news on. We will see what this week brings, ladies and gents. But Monday morning, the 15th of December, that was another news round for Anfield.